Yo, so today I thought I'd share with you a selection of small stories of things that myself and members of my family have done in terms of food that you probably shouldn't do. One of them is fairly harmless, the other two, yeah, you shouldn't really do them. I mean, you get taught from a fairly young age with cookery to there are certain things you shouldn't do, like, I don't know, prepare vegetables and raw chicken on the same chopping board. Yeah, don't do that. So these are three particularly unusual ones that my family have learned over the years. Now, the first one, this came from a family member, and this one is relatively harmless. The thing is, they were making a chocolate cake, and they found out that they didn't have the necessary ingredients to sufficiently ice the cake. So they looked around their apartment and found a load of Mars bars, so they decided to melt down the Mars bars and essentially use them as a chocolate fondant icing substitute, which, in terms of mind, that doesn't sound that bad. I mean, it sounds like it could work fairly well. Only thing was, though, the caramel, once it's melted down, when it applied, it then sets hard. So they ended up with, I imagine, an okay tasting cake that was almost impossible to slice. It would either be too sticky to slice or it would be too hard to slice, or rock hard. I think it was the rock hard one they said. So, yeah, so kitchen rule for us number 3, don't try and use melted down Mars bars as chocolate icing. But that one's relatively harmless. The second one, that once again, this one's fairly harmless, but may leave you feeling a little bit groggy. This one came from another close family member who I may have been instrumental in this one, but for their birthday, I gave them 2 bars of 80% dark chocolates. The kind of really dark stuff that's like 80% cocoa, as they tend to like that stuff. And later that day, they decided, oh, it's my birthday, I can eat a whole bar of that. Bad idea. With 80% dark chocolate, you ideally just want to have a little nip of it every now and again. You don't want to eat a whole bar at once. They said that for the rest of the day, they were like a squirrel on speed, just very short attention span. Just, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do this. Oh, shiny. And just, they couldn't focus on anything. And when the buzz finally left their system, it was just, think triple espresso on an empty stomach. They did not feel well. Kind of like a hangover without the alcohol. And so, yeah, rule number 2 for us, don't, if you can help it, don't eat a whole bar of 80% dark chocolate all at once. Now, the final one, number 3, and I think the one we all make fun of, this one was actually me. And I'll admit, I didn't realise what I was doing at the time. So, here's the story. But in order to tell you this, I'll need to go back a little bit. Back when I was in primary school, one thing that they did every year was a Christmas concert. I get all the children together to sing traditional Christmas songs and all the rest of it. And they provided hot drinks for the adults, like coffee and tea, and then for the children they provided hot Vimto, which my parents have always lamented throughout the years as they think it's disgusting. It was basically Vimto topped up with hot water. That's all you do. I mean, that's how you make your favourite drinks hot. You basically add a small amount in the bottom of a mug and add hot water on top of that. That's all you do. I wish I had known that at the time. So I was very young, like 7, 8 or 9, and I had been drinking Iron Brew. Now, I'd got the bit of the Iron Brew that's always at the bottom of the bottle, the bit where it's had its time and it's gone flat. And I thought at the time it was a little bit dull, so I decided to pour Iron Brew in to try and get the froth back into it, try and do something and make it a little more interesting, try and get the froth back into it. So I poured it into an electric kettle. That was my first mistake. Okay. And then I set it boiling. Now, for the first part of it, it didn't seem that bad. I mean, it didn't seem to do very much while it was in the kettle, but but by the time it had finished coming to the end of its finishing cycle, all of a sudden it bubbled up, and from what my parents had told me, it went up like a Day-Glo orange fountain, just spurting up out of it. And before I knew it, it was covering every work surface. We laughed about it. We laughed about it shortly afterwards, and oh great, we laughed about it then, and we can laugh about it now. But all of a sudden, it produced a Day-Glo fountain that spurted over every work surface, and for the next few days, it was a nightmare to clean up. And for the next few days, my family basically complained that every cup of tea they had, or cup of coffee, tasted funny because Irn-Bru had been in the kettle. So, yeah. Number one rule of life, don't put Irn-Bru, or in fact any fizzy drink, into a kettle. So, yeah. While it may not live up to some of the traditional rules that you'll learn in the kitchen, such as that don't prepare raw chicken and vegetables on the same board, or try not to cut yourself. The rule that we can apply from these stories is number 3: don't try and use melted down Mars bars as chocolate icing. Number 2: don't eat a whole bar of 80% dark chocolate all at once. And number 3: don't put fizzy drinks in an electric kettle. It doesn't end well. Well, that's all I'm going to tell you. So, see you when I see you.